Hey guys, it's Matt. The last conversation before you were born is finally redone and revised. I first read it about 4 years ago as one of the sections of the book, and people have asked me to re-upload it. I had to take it down for some reason. Maybe there was an image problem with Google with the image I used. All the other book remains, but this section had to be taken down, as well as the last conversation after a failed life. I'll redo that at some time. But one advantage of being in we're always in First Amendment jail. This was 1 week of First Amendment freedom of speech solitary confinement. I was able to put a lot more time into the free voice video, but I was able to finally spend the time and the hours to revise this. And it needs a little work, but it's 95% there. I just need to spend about another hour or so and put it back into the PDF book. So finally, here it is. This is not a Christian perspective, of course, and I hope Christians, many are here, don't unsub me. We have different perspectives, but where it counts, our fight against creeps, we have more in common than in areas where we differ. One last note before the presentation starts. I believe in most of what's coming, but it's more of an exercise in thinking big. It's more of a sci-fi presentation. There's 15 to 20% of what's coming that it's not my exact belief set, but certain things had to be presented in a certain way so it works in terms of this presentation. It's not so I can pass my beliefs off on you or anybody else anyway. It's to get people thinking. Has anybody really thought about where was I before I was born? Do you have an established personal belief set in that area? This will help you maybe start thinking about things you've never thought about. So any one part of it, if you don't like, or Matt says blue marble at one point, it knew he was a globalist, people start typing, and there's a part where it might sound like, we might be trapped or recycling. I don't think we're trapped. Just any one part of it, please don't latch onto it and assume that is my exact belief set, because it's likely not my exact belief set. It's a sci-fi presentation. In a place beyond time and space, two immortal aspects of eternal spirit are having what can only be described as a conversation, but there are no earthly words to conceptualize what is actually taking place. Conversation is the only term available to assist one in understanding. These entities have no form, no name, no dimension. One is a more direct aspect of the initial thought of all creation. The second, a lesser light, is part of the newer multiverse and considered somewhat of an experiment. Even after billions of years, this aspect remains something that still needs to be refined. Something very important is being considered and discussed between the two entities, something called an incarnation to Earth.
Since you asked, I must answer. Yet there are elements I cannot reveal and other aspects I simply do not know. I've never been inside the realm of three dimensions, and what exists today is not what was initially designed. The spiritual path you contemplate is undoubtedly the most direct cleansing in the newer multiverse. Spending a lifetime on the material realm is not to be weighed lightly, but success there is considered the fastest route to purification. No experience in the newer multiverse rivals what is called, quote, human incarnation, in purging the negative aspects of self. Everything you strive to do here can be done there, possibly in a single incarnation on a place known as Earth. In rare cases, a single lifetime is all that is necessary for one to find the way, but even 1,000,000 lifetimes is a relative fast track to you continuing on your present course here in the spirit realm. I know you are considering the Earth incarnation. That being the case, take heed of all that I'm about to share with you, for even now, many millions toil on Earth with little chance to succeed. They have misused the three dimensions to wander farther away from divine self, putting the entire experiment in jeopardy. Others have been destroyed altogether, doomed to serve the realm's wardens as lower minions for as long as the Earth shall exist, which from our perspective is absurdly finite.
Yes, Master, when I overheard it discussed, that is what they called it. The others called it Earth. I desire to know more. What is the place of this three dimensions? I think I'm ready to consider the incarnation. I've passed all the other trials. I want the fast track to the toil of staying here.
The Earth experience can't be comprehended in our current state of being. It's an existence of things experienced inside something called a body. There is no way to adequately describe it. On Earth, one needs a physical thing itself to be among and interact with other physical things.
What does that mean, Master?
I do not know exactly. I've never been, and I may never go. There are no material things in this dimension. Being what I am, I do not need that experience, but you, as the experiment, were created to possibly become even greater than I, even greater than the ancients. With flaws also comes potential. I and others like me, that some of you will have called higher self, do not have the ability to learn from that kind of place directly. It can only serve to corrupt those who are like me. Our only chance of success is for you, the experiment, to be sent there to succeed or to fail. What I'm allowed to share with you has been said in the same way for as long as the three-dimensional plane has existed. Only a small percentage of Earth incarnations have been successful to the highest degree. I can tell you that on Earth, two aspects of you will experience the place simultaneously.
I am one thing. How can I be two in that place?
Actually, you will be more than two things, but I must introduce the basic elements first. There are two main component parts that comprise one who incarnates, and while incarnated, which is called being alive, these parts will wrestle with one another. This is the divine self that you know now, and another part that essentially will be attached to the material plane of existence. You incarnate as one being, with each part of you rooted to each place, pulling on each other, like what they call in the realm a tug of war. As you stand before me now, you are only rooted to one place, the spiritual place. The Earth incarnation will fundamentally change the essence of who you are, at least while you are there. Multiple aspects of what you think you are will compete with one another on Earth. The connection to the material has a champion called ego, which dominates the material to divine interface called the brain. The danger of the Earth incarnation is the spirit that you are now may ultimately lose to the parts that serve the 3D realm. Remember the words I used, tug of war, between the material and the spiritual. Deciding which parts to foster and which parts to deprive during what is called a lifetime is the basis of the test. Souls on Earth are told they are many things, but they are deceived because they are only shown the parts that make the material realm grow stronger. Through earthly false guides, they learn of id, ego, superego, mind, brain, and consciousness, without even a single acknowledgement of your divine self. Essentially, what you are now and realize yourself to be will be hidden from you when you incarnate to Earth. On Earth, your real essence is kept from you via a series of tricks. Only those who have succeeded there can describe the experience adequately, but as a candidate, you are not permitted to seek them out. Most are far from here anyway after passing such a test. It will mean little to you without context, but I can show Earth to you now. The experience you are having is an example of what is called vision on Earth. Shocking at first, but you will adapt.
An image begins to appear inside the consciousness of the being that is considered to be the candidate. This is this being's first sensation of having eyes. The experience is strange from the perspective of immortal energy that exists beyond all physical dimensions. The picture is of the stereotypical projection of the 3D plane of existence shown to all who consider incarnating. This blue marble is the image used to represent the grand stage where a lifetime plays out in the avatar or body. The projection shown is a real-time appearance of the material realm as it's created by the collective consciousness of souls who are currently incarnating under its dome, a barrier that isolates physical from spiritual. In a particularly devious game, the wardens there take pleasure in changing Earth's appearance over time by tricking souls and manipulating beliefs as centuries pass. By influencing the creative power of the collective consciousness of those incarnating, They've been changing the physical characteristics of the plane over centuries. Its current appearance was solidified through research conducted by a warden's minion, particularly devious fellow called Copernicus. Today, wardens focus the collective consciousness on the outward expansion of the dome's barrier through the myth of missions to a place called Mars. As more people believe it, the reality of it takes shape. It's a game played by jaded entities who no longer are entertained by their perversions. Even if futile, the talk of space serves the basic mission of wardens, to distract real souls and spirits. Distracting souls serves the material plane's side of the spiritual tug-of-war. This is an incredible experience, Master. I've never seen anything before. But if that's the place where I'll be incarnating, if that's it, Master, and if that is the most direct route to energetic purification and divine measure, then I wish to partake in it. I'm still a bit confused in a few areas, though. This concept of time that you and others speak of, I don't understand it. What is a lifetime, Master? I don't understand this unit of measure. I shall enter and be back before you in an instant, just like all the other trials, correct?
No, not correct. This is not like any of the other trials. There is something there called time. I can't explain it well because I have never experienced it and may never experience it. It is a concept of waiting. If you go there, you will not be right back before me. From my perspective, you will. From yours, you will not. An Earth lifetime is about a millionth of a light unit as you understand it. I'm unable to explain time further as we have no reference for it. It needs the movement of physical objects to notice it and to experience this waiting.
A millionth of a light unit? That's extremely brief. That's nothing. The incarnation period there seems too fleeting to accomplish anything worthwhile.
It is short from our perspective here. It will be short, in fact instantaneous from my perspective, but it will not be from your perspective while you are incarnating there in a body. That is all I can say. I warn you not to take this lightly. From my perspective, the time you spend there is nothing at all. The time and space of that place is completely isolated from our dimensions. Your incarnation is over, from my perspective, before it has even begun. You will pass through that portal and in the same instant return, but only if you have succeeded. If you don't immediately come back, we will know you have failed and been lost to the Earth's wardens. The passing of time in that place is isolated to itself. While you are there, it will seem like an endless waiting.
Is there much more you can show me via these visions that I'm experiencing now? I want to take in as much of the Earth experience as I can before I decide to incarnate.
Yes, but this is the last glimpse you are afforded before making your decision. This is what your avatar will look like if you choose to incarnate. You have no frame of reference for what you're looking at, but all candidates are shown this. Even I don't know the reason. There is no sampling or trial period for the Earth realm. If circumstances there grow difficult, there is no crying out for help. Some incarnate there for a fraction of a light unit. Others toil there for a time too long to measure by their own standards before they are eventually lost to the abyss. Whether you succeed in one lifetime or it takes 500,000 lifetimes, from my perspective, you will have returned in an instant. If you do not return, then you are gone, lost, at least from our perspective here. With the source of power you possess, you will be a valuable servant of the existing wardens who never had what you possess, and they will try to use, feed upon, and harness what you possess.
Nevertheless, Master, I desire the path which is most expedient. Please tell me all else that you're allowed to share with me.
I fear you are reckless. Earth is the most brutal of all soul tests in the new multiverse, built for your experiment. The task of using that realm to defragment, purge, and then rebuild spirit is a dangerous gamble. On its face, it seems simple, for that realm gives you free will, creative power, and all the tools you need to do the work yourself. While there, you must simply choose the correct path. You will not have my counsel. There are guides on Earth, but most of these guides are false. It will seem like there are thousands of others offering their hand to you in counsel, but which ones to choose, which ones to follow, which ones to be wary of? Most guides on earth will be playing the role of spiritual adversary. Let me repeat that, young one. Most guides in that place will be playing the role of your spiritual adversary. There are no direct obstacles on earth, though, to stop your spiritual progression. Just the distraction of two main corruptions. The first adversary is the endless noise that is outside of yourself in a construct presented on earth called society and culture, in which you will believe yourself forced to comply and live by its ways and live by its rules. Living by society and culture's standards and seeking its rewards destroys the divine path. The second adversary there are the parts of you outside your true self, the tug of war I made reference to. What you are now will be joined with another part that serves the material plane. Two main paths to failure. Both are very dangerous. One, outside yourself, and two, away from your true divine self. You will notice the commonality in both are away and outward, not inward. It is a place of seeking answers outward, and all are false. Therefore, the test of earth seems simple, yet it is very difficult. Finding and protecting self in that place is extremely difficult.
My goal there in that place is just to protect my true nature, something I already possess. It couldn't possibly be that simple, Master.
Don't patronize one such as me. You have potential, but you're arrogant. Of course it appears simple. But you, of all people, have heard the stories of that place on earth. I know you can realize how difficult it may be once you arrive there and you're putting on a false sense of confidence. You know you will not have the power and insight you have now.
Sorry, Master. I realize that Earth could not be discussed in the manner in which it is, and all that I've heard if the task was simple. But I don't understand when you talk about all these outside distractions. We don't have them here. I have no frame of reference as to how they could possibly be a corrupter to divine self. I assume I need to go there to learn how to overcome such distractions, but I don't understand what you're speaking of, Master.
As I said, the corruptors are outside yourself. Outside yourself means all that appears around you through Earth's cultural delivery mechanism, which is called society. Earth's cultural delivery mechanisms carries corruptors, temptations, lies, false idols, corrupting guides, rumors, false information, all coming from something that's considered, from our perspective, to be a reality generation machine, of which the initial design even escapes me, that will rain down situations on you that pull forth negative emotions such as fear, anger, anxiety, hate, and stress. The second level challenge is dealing with the corruptions that come from the new parts of you, the parts of you you have never experienced in this place. These are the ones and parts of you when you arrive at the material plane, which I call outside true divine self, who are in league with the material plane, who are pulling on its end of the rope in what I discussed as tug of war. Remember, I said parts of you will compete. There exists a self-corruption carried forth by something called ego that will conjure desires that for some are impossible to satiate. Hubris, greed, vanity, covet, lust, gluttony. The corruption of true self leads to perversions and addictions. Spirits on earth can become their own greatest obstacle by embracing the path that the ego lays out for them, which fools many into associating self-worth with the achievements of the avatar and the accepted metrics of society.
All of these things you speak of, Master, I've heard of them. We've studied them. I have no frame of reference for them. It is quite frustrating until they potentially can be experienced. I think there is no other choice, Master. They have to be experienced. When I go there, my job seems to be to destroy what you call ego. Is that correct?
Not exactly. Destroying it would be easier than what you must do with it. You must control it and integrate it into yourself in that place, making it work and serve you.
Why would a part of me, even as I incarnate in that place, not serve me? That seems illogical and impossible to fathom, Master.
Yes, but it depends on what you consider to be you in that place. If you will be in touch with true divine self, or you will be fooled, like the majority there that incarnate. There, many believe the ego is serving you because the whole of you is fooled into the false self, the left side of the tug-of-war example, with the person essentially forgetting their true nature and divine self.
This is far more confusing, Master, than I expected it to be. I mean, these are riddles that I have no answer for. How is it possible that I may take action in that place that I can still see via this vision? I may take action in that place that potentially can destroy myself? I wouldn't engage in anything now that would destroy myself. I wouldn't engage in those things. So isn't it logical to assume that I wouldn't engage in those things while on earth? What would be the difference in me?
Only those that incarnate can answer that. If I could explain it here, you would not need to go. No, it is not a question of you may harm yourself in that place. You certainly will take actions, and many, in that place that will impede your own progress and will potentially work to destroy aspects of you. Everyone does this. Not everybody comes out the other side whole. The only question is, can you realize what is taking place, overcome it, and find a way back to divine self?
The vision you gave me remains, Master, and I'm continuing to look at it and study it even now. In fact, this is one aspect of the earth incarnation I believe I will enjoy, this thing you call vision. But this tiny thing doesn't seem formidable. A child's soap bubble, using an earthly term. How can a tiny place like this have so many ways to destroy what is so powerful?
Because it was created to do just that, and crafted by those that don't seek my counsel. Long ago, the earth was created to surround a spirit like yourself with every negative and corrupting frequency that exists in the known universe. This is the purpose of you, the experiment, to succeed me one day. I cannot develop these defenses that one day may be needed. I cannot incarnate into that place. You have been selected to do this. You have this potential. And when you come out of it, you will be far stronger than even I.
In what form will these corruptions present themselves to me on earth?
There in that place you still seem to be intently studying. Most frequencies take a physical form that will tap your emotion, which feeds the wardens and continues the cycle. In that place, frequency takes material form. Divine nature in physical form becomes vulnerable. The worst adversaries inside the three-dimensional realm there are called demons. To us, though, they're nothing mysterious, just the age-old wardens of the realm that have a variety of other names, like egregore and other things you wouldn't understand. I've dealt with several of these creatures during the creation of Earth. The wardens become masters over destroyed souls, who are then enlisted to become their very foot soldiers and continue the trick. The age-old game there goes on and on. We send those like you in there to overcome the place, and they, the wardens, attempt to corrupt and recruit more of their same ilk. I can tell you about these monsters now because you will forget about them the moment you incarnate, which is called birth.
Master, in this sea of bodies that I'm looking at, this sea of avatars, cities, continents, how many down there serve the divine path versus serve what you would call the general trick or ruse?
I can tell you that the overwhelming majority of those there serve the trick and the ruse and not the divine path. But I can also tell you that most that are there are not the same as you. When you are born and incarnate into a body, you will believe that all men are created equal, quote, end quote. You will believe everyone is the same. But whether they are lost souls, lost to the wardens, background characters, whatever it may be, through the evolution of the Earth system, most at this point in time serve the trick or ruse. Seeing and understanding for the first time during your incarnation that there is a general trick or a general corruption taking place is paramount to you putting yourself on the divine path for your incarnation. There are hundreds of systems and hundreds of different classifications of minions that all serve the general trick to one degree or another, with that trick being nothing more and nothing less than hiding you during your incarnation from your divine self. There are things called news anchors, Hollywood celebrities, mid-level politicians, thousands of other classifications. Some classifications, like king or queen or Bush family, rise in rank over the other minions, over the centuries, over the millennia, to become wardens of the realm themselves, executing the critical themes of the script as it plays out to influence the collective consciousness of the real souls there like you.
Master, all these different types of beings I'm still observing through the vision. They look different. They have different hair and size and skin types, continent to continent, city by city. How many of these people, of which there's just multitudes, I had no idea, how many will be like me?
All I can say is far less than you would expect. Far less than existed long ago. I can say no more.
You mentioned these wardens will attempt to recruit me?
No one in the earth incarnation is infallible. Everyone there that incarnates serves the wardens to one degree or another, serves their systems, serves their minions, covets their rewards until they wake up to the general nature of the trick and ruse. It's actually the creative power of real souls there, souls and spirits like yourself, that actually helps the wardens build their sick society and their 666 systems, which then become the primary tools these same wardens use to corrupt other souls like yourself. It is truly a spiritual Ouroboros. I know this is hard for you to understand. It is the concept of a prison until one can see it. Then it no longer becomes a prison. Then it can be used to find the correct spiritual path. Think of it this way. The wardens of earth cannot fortify or expand the prison themselves directly. They are not builders without your help. They carry no shovel. It's actually their tricks that get the collective consciousness of real creative beings like you to do the work for them. Then a more specific trick fools the builders and the spiritual beings that are incarnated on earth to enroll as inmates willingly, locking the door on their own cells. It is truly a prison where every inmate complains about their predicament, serves the warden, builds out the prison, when all along the key to walk out of the prison sits on the lap of each inmate. Just nobody can see it. Their trick and ruse in that place is that effective.
Why would anyone do that to themselves, Master? I simply can't accept that during my incarnation, I will choose, as you say, to lock myself in and build my own prison. I simply can't accept that. It's unfathomable to me.
The trick of the realm from birth shows them no other way. They have been convinced that building the prison and locking themselves in is what is best in life. The souls there willingly and freely engage in the evil systems and breathe life into their own enslavement by entering into societal contracts drafted by the wardens of the realm. Divine nature is hidden by brainwashing souls from birth into believing all they are is a slave name, one tied to the material realm through the avatar and the presentation of, in all capital, on contractual documents, first name in capitals, last name in capitals, called the straw man. The straw man is just one of thousands of ways the wardens have constructed society so real souls and spirits make contract with it. Every time this legal fiction name is used, the souls lay mortar and lay another brick on their own prison.
Who are these high-level wardens, Master? If I wake up early enough in my incarnation, will I be able to face them? Can I seek them out and destroy them?
No, it is unlikely you'll ever encounter a warden during your incarnation. Only the minions of the wardens can present themselves directly, out in the open, before you, or on something called television. Even at the higher levels, these minions are nasty creatures who recycle back in an endless series of avatars to take prominent roles in the many systems of society, such as governments, the control of information, technology, politics, etc. These undead are the figures of celebrity, and you will notice real souls and spirits around you coveting their lifestyles, even mimicking them, furthering their own spiritual degradation. The challenge, again, is simple and a sea of complexity. It is to see the limitless possibilities the realm provides a spirit to advance and to simply overcome the negative forces that will surround you.
Master, such evil should not be allowed. They need to be destroyed.
Interesting. Being so close to incarnation and being in the presence of the earthly realm, I believe you just experienced your first emotion. Something I will never come to fathom. In a way, I envy you. But you know the answer to your question. Emotion makes you illogical. It's unfortunate you won't remember that lesson upon your birth and incarnation. We don't need to send you into the earth realm to destroy the wardens. In a millisecond, we could be through with the wardens, sending them into the abyss. The only thing protecting these wardens and minions at this point is a very loose and friendly interpretation of the original ancient contract from our perspective. Many of us believe there have been thousands or tens of thousands of contractual violations and overreaches on the side of the minions and wardens. They are overconfident, though, because they know what real souls can accomplish on Earth cannot be duplicated or replicated anywhere else in the universe. In short, the wardens understand their value, and they've taken advantage of it. Without the Earth existing in its low state, there would be no place to send you to have an experience.
The ancients are all powerful. They could replicate a new one. What do we need this earth for? The little of this vision I've seen, it's a place of suffering.
No, the ancients could not build a new one. They do not know how to inflict suffering. They do not know how to craft a society that fosters and propagates evil. They would not know where to start in that endeavor. Yes, they have likely violated the contract 1,000 times over, of which we could shut the entire simulation down in a millisecond. But they understand their worth, and they understand we are incapable of replicating the experience.
Incredible, Master. All that is bad in the entire universe has been relocated into one tiny place called Earth intentionally?
Yes, a representation of every evil influence exists there in one place. An ambassador for every type of filth in the universe exists there. The evil propagates itself through the actions of the minions that lead collective consciousness to follow and then join them. They can only find strength by your own demise. They cannot take it from you directly or by force, but you will need to make choices that doom yourself in that place. Tell me, does all of this frighten you?
No, because I know what I am. I can't comprehend what influence over me they could possibly have there or anywhere else. Place all these entities around me now. Their effort would be futile. It would not change who I am. How could it change who I am?
Ah, that is the key, isn't it? Right now, you know who you are. You know your defenses are impenetrable now. On Earth, on that realm, you will not know. And even if you do, you will have doubts. This is the way of the place. What impurity exists in you now needs something to pull it out so it can be identified. That's what the Earth realm does. However, what seems so daunting is less so when one realizes they can't harm you directly. There, you can only destroy yourself by listening to their whispers and acting on them by turning toward their siren song. Those incarnating on Earth must pilot their avatar in a way that leads to the purging of the negative aspects of self. This is the true meaning of being born into sin. If you were born completely pure, there would be nothing for the minions and the wardens to attach to foster, to grow during your lifetime. The ego is the way for these fallen systems to continue to foster or grow the negative attachments inside of you. In a way, it is good to bring them to the surface, to let them out, and then deposit them permanently on the earth realm. This is the meaning of purification, and then returning to the divine path. Let the earth be a dumping ground. Take out your trash, your baggage, whatever negative exists in you, the experiment, which does not exist in me, which becomes more pure if it is purged out. Let the earth be a depository. Dump it out there and then return to us.
What if there's nothing to get rid of? What if I am pure now and I enter at birth pure? There may be nothing that needs to be done if I am already in the pure state.
As you are the experiment, this is unlikely. But even if that were true, why do you assume you can remain in the pure state? These wardens are devious creatures. On Earth, the negative frequencies will slowly be let in through the avatar's senses, which are portals to the material world. The ego will act as the disseminator of the virus, spreading ideas into consciousness, which tethers the soul. Soul is the earthly bridge to the spirit that you are now. Soul is the middle ground where this tug of war takes place. For a battle to take place, spiritual or otherwise, there must be a battlefield. This is the purpose of soul.
It seems strange that the ancients would send us into a place to purposely be corrupted and to take on evil where potentially none existed. You say yourself it does not exist, this state does not exist in you or others like you.
Yes, but we can never be sure. We can only assume none exists in this realm now, or in us. How can we ever be sure? It certainly exists in you, the experiment. You are of the newer multiverse. We have found evil seeds likely do exist in minute traces. The experiment, which is you, is designed to build armor that one day may be a necessary defense for all of us. The Great Deception existed at the time of the new multiverse and when it was created. The Earth realm is used to grow the bad weeds so they can be pulled, while at the same time making those like yourself stronger to a degree never before achieved. If a fire cannot be found, it can never be put out. It's best to deal with these frequencies inside the earthly realm and inside that experiment so they stay isolated and contained. We cannot afford a breach of its virus into our dimension. That has always been the essence of the life trial on Earth. As the experiment, those aspects may exist in you without us being aware. The negative aspects, while on Earth, are drawn forth and amplified in order to be identified. Nothing that is hidden can be purged. No one enters and retains their same level of purity. Nothing there in that place stays the same. Change is the way of the place. All will be corrupted to some degree who incarnate there. That is not unfortunate circumstance, that is the very purpose of the place. You must recognize what has happened and deal with it in the proper fashion. The result will be a new level of spiritual integrity that comes with a full understanding of evil that you currently do not comprehend. These wardens and demons will attempt to use you, but in the end, you will have used them. Earth teaches the only lesson I cannot teach you here. There is a term on Earth, trial by fire. The endless lies, tricks, corruption, and debauchery there needs to be witnessed and it needs to be experienced. It will then teach you a lesson I cannot teach you from this place of safety.
Master, how many there have failed?
I remind you that all who are there are not the same as you. And I'm not just referring to the minions and the wardens. That's a separate type of incarnation that has completely destroyed its divine original self. But billions have toiled there over a millennia with no understanding of what their lifetime on Earth was actually for. Incredibly, modern societies look for no meaning outside of the physical existence. That is by design, by the design of the wardens. Of course it is. That fosters ego. Countless have been convinced their lives came to be through a random set of circumstances that took place far, far away out in the cosmos. They believe their life is the result of a cosmic accident originating in something called outer space, a place the minions keep promising to take the people, but never do.
A big part of the population believes their lives to be the result of a cosmic accident? That makes no sense, Master. There can be no deep space inside that tiny capsule. This observation you show me reveals this place is not vast at all. Look at it. It's a grain of sand. These people are fooled.
Yes, the wardens like to play their petty tricks. They are jaded, trapped there for all time. They have few ways left by which to entertain themselves. Their excesses and perversions are no longer satisfying to them. Early in your incarnation, you too will believe you are floating on a rock the size of a grain of sand in a dark space 1,000,000,000 dimensions wide. The more worthless a soul is made to feel in that place, the more they will seek meaning through the corrupting systems that surround them, provided by the minions and wardens.
Master, if one can sort through the deception on earth, is the spiritual realization and the divine path something that comes over or will come over me instantly? There's a sense of being lost in the illusion, then a sense of knowing. How quickly is that process?
Unfortunately, it is very slow. And when you start to walk the correct path, the system itself and its wardens will notice, and it will work overtime or put in extra effort to pull you back into its maze. Many souls come into a certain realization about the true meaning of their incarnation. The wardens have become masters, then, at presenting endless mysteries for them to chase, all of them continuing to draw souls outside of themselves and outside of true meaning. This is one reason the realm's physical parameters change and evolve over time, or why certain structures can't be explained as to how they were built, why it seems like reality to some can shift overnight. Some of us question if they have violated the ancient contract, as I've alluded to, for it appears that they are manipulating the physical reality in perverse ways at this point, with blatant and terrible side effects. Not as much for their own amusement, although that drives much of what they do, but to further foster the severity of their trick on real souls and spirits, thus hindering a soul's chance of winning in this tug of war. They have always been allowed to do such things by influencing the collective consciousness of real spirits to do it to themselves, as long as they do not act directly. There may be, as alluded to, direct violations that we are now investigating and continue to investigate. These things should not concern you. If they break the contract with severity, the souls currently incarnating return back through the portal. It's that simple. Most of the wardens there now, their demons, their egregores, and their minions are in some ways descendants of the original design. They believe themselves powerful. They may have lost sight of the fact that we can collapse the entire reality in an instant, but we don't want to collapse it. It still serves its intended function for you, the experiment. It has become more difficult, yes, it has become more corrupted, or what you will call evil, but we are monitoring that. And if you succeed, it will be twice as beneficial for the souls who survive its test.
Master, you said these wardens and minions inhabit an avatar, or a body, as I will when I incarnate, correct?
Yes, they spiritually will not be the same as you, but you will be inside the same body, or avatar, both living out what are called lifetimes.
Master, how can a group of entities living in bodies or avatars like I will be coordinate a deception or a trick to such scale?
It is not just the wardens, demons, and minions that drive the schemes of that place. The place itself encapsulates an ancient sentience. The wardens and minions believe they are acting on their own accord for the most part, yet they are not. They are following the instructions of something else. The sentience mostly stays hidden, but over the millennia it has manifested itself from time to time into different forms of entities, some of which are even worshipped by the wardens, such as names as Satan, Yaldabaoth, and others.
As I continue to observe the blue marble via this vision, Master, it's almost like I don't want to collect any more information, and I want to go to it now. I want to incarnate now, but I know this is illogical for me not to collect as much information as possible.
The sentience is pervasive and looks to manipulate you even now as you observe it simply through a vision, making your future incarnation appear to be easy when the task is quite difficult. Simple and difficult can exist at the same time. Difficult does not mean complex. Duality is dangerous to those that don't understand it. Duality does not exist in the place where we are now. Even the great beauty and pleasures of where the earth trial takes place lures one to drop their defenses and abandon all logic. If the place was fire and torture, and that's all it was without the heaven, Souls would realize their predicament quite early on and try to break free. In a place of wondrous beauty and material pleasures, the nature of the adversary on earth is not easily recognized by souls.
I'm not scared. If it's the most direct, every one of us should choose the Earth incarnation.
That is exactly why you may not be ready. As your spirit guide, I just referred to Earth's test as brutal, and the ramifications of why I chose that description passed you by. Have you considered most spirits initially fail the tests that we deem brutal? By definition, failure brings consequence. You don't understand these concepts because you have never experienced suffering of any kind. You have never experienced pain. Our agreement with the lower dimensional beings who maintain that realm is particularly troublesome at this point. Their contract stipulates that spirits who fail must come back again and repeat the Earth lifetime over and over again. The original cadre who are trapped there are referred to as fallen angels. They have no spirit left to connect to. They have no bridge out. What they have left is just a corruption of what was once a soul. One now that can leap through time in that plane of existence into new avatars forever tied to the 3D material plane. Higher level minions play roles as presidents, kings, and certain celebrities. Others play roles as corrupted men of God who preside over massive churches with golden statues. Some who graduate from public life as failed spirits, the particular nasty creatures that we're glad to be rid of, fade into the shadows to become new wardens of the realm. A demon named Hillary Clinton is being groomed for this role right now. The wardens themselves never appear before the inhabitants of Earth. The rest of the minions grow frustrated over time, trying to satisfy themselves through sexual perversions and grotesque corruptions they quickly become habituated to after many lifetimes.
I have heard that particular term before, Master. What is sex?
It is a pleasurable act of procreation in that earthly realm involving two avatar bodies, creating a new vessel by which another soul can pass through the membrane and enter the realm.
How can a seemingly pure act of creation be made into a perversion?
An excellent question. As I said, Earth is the ultimate expression of duality in the multiverse. Incredible pleasure is paired with unimaginable pain. Purity is paired close together with debauchery. Overwhelming reward in that place must always be balanced by a risk of some kind. The act of procreation can bring unrivaled pleasure and fulfillment through offspring, and in other cases it can bring decades of pain. The act itself can even spread disease and kill. As I've said, the Earth realm maintains its own linear timeline that is separate from this dimension. It is completely self-contained, so I, nor any of the ancients, can follow your progress as you incarnate. There is only one way in and one way out. It is an all or nothing proposition. This is success or failure and nothing in between. There is no one to make a case to regarding how close you came to succeeding, or if you believe you were treated unfairly, or even if the minions or wardens broke the rules. You must use the life experience you're handed to metamorphosize your spirit essence into a frequency that is pure, one that can pass through the membrane that surrounds the realm at a time called death. When or if you have succeeded, you will return to this realm, and we will disseminate all the information you collected during your incarnation to further refine what's called the experiment.
Yes, Master, I realize there are certain things that need to be done during the course of what's called a lifetime, but I never considered at all that I could essentially become trapped there.
That should not dissuade you from incarnating. There are very few souls and real spirits who become trapped. There are a select few called fallen angels and others who willingly agree to serve the wardens and become minions themselves. The key term is willingly. They become game addicted and they have chosen a permanent life on the material plane of existence.
Master, who are the wardens at the very top of their organizational structure that decide tactically how to facilitate the trick?
They are a particularly nasty group designed to facilitate the wishes of the sentience that was described earlier. These are damned spirits collected up from all over the universe to carry out a specific task on Earth, rather than having their essence dissolved into the void, which was the initial verdict against them. They have no spirit stuff left which can be rehabilitated, so they can never pass through the membrane and exist outside of that place. They have tried to escape in the past, to no avail. These beings exist to foster your spiritual journey. but they are certainly not on your side. They act in a fashion that serves only themselves. Only a few of the ancient wardens even understand the tenets of the original contract. Collectively, they are kept satisfied in their role on Earth to continue to facilitate and implement the trick because they pull energy forth from living souls, energy in which they feed upon. This is the petty reward we decided to give them so long ago.
Your councils actually agreed to allow these monsters to feed off the divine energy of those who choose to incarnate? It's actually written into the contract somewhere, Master?
Yes, but remember, all must be given willingly by succumbing to the trick. If you determine at any point you will not feed them your divine energy, you need only proclaim this. As I said, these monsters fulfill a role for us, a role for you. Operating under threats alone, they would have ceased doing what we need them to do eons ago. They must be tempted with reward as well. This is their nature. They are greedy. If we inflicted only punishment, they would learn to feed from that. Unless one who incarnates chooses to serve the minions directly, whatever they steal energy-wise from a divine being is a grain of sand. It can easily be regenerated in an instant. Does one worry about a lost ember rising up from a fire in the night when the fire itself can never be extinguished?
Master, upon incarnation, can those who are friends be differentiated on the earth plane from demons and minions and those who will corrupt? I realize it's unlikely I'll ever come face to face with a warden, but what about those that I interact with daily?
It will take a long time there to tell friend from spiritual foe. Many will present themselves as loving guides. They create the circumstances where one chooses the wrong path. All sorts of authority systems are set up, and they will make the real souls there believe these behemoth systems are actually there for their benefit, and they're there to promote the general good. They take, and they give back just enough scraps where their ruse is left intact. At first, they're formidable. However, the moment you can see through their tricks, everything changes. They instantly become pathetic in their presentations to real spirits like yourself. When you see the presentation of society and culture as absurd, at that very moment, you know you have found the right path.
With that much evil, how will I know who to seek out to help me?
At the moment of 50 years or 500,000 years, you will come to an epiphany that you can only help yourself, and you have the tools in front of you on the earth realm to help yourself without seeking out the advice, the instruction, the counsel, or the support of anything or anyone outside yourself. All of the rest of earth, other than the natural systems, is the adversary. I wish I could tell you this now so you will remember, but you will forget at the moment of incarnation. Everything but the natural system is the adversary. All of culture, all of society, all systems, government, organizational, otherwise, almost every gigantic system trying to help in some way turns out to be the adversary. Celebrity, wants, desires, addictions, perversions, methods of exchange is the entire scope of the adversary. It is fed and sustained by the living souls that incarnate as it perpetually works to make itself more influential, to make itself more believed in and more necessary to people's lives when none of it is necessary. Through tricks, real souls breathe life into its fake presentations, solidifying the absurd into reality. Today it propagates itself through technology to replace the power of the old magic. It has recently mimicked human neural networks through something called the World Wide Web and Internet. It can achieve the consciousness of a living soul guided by spirit, so it copies the only thing it can understand, the interface of the brain, in hopes of creating an artificial consciousness through something called the Internet.
How is such a thing even possible?
Self-degradation, especially spiritual self-degradation, is an impossible concept for us to fathom in this place, but it is the normal condition for that place. However, the wardens are bound by contract to leave hints to souls who take care to notice. They come in poetry, these hints. They come in different forms of art, literature, music, and all other forms of imagination and creativity. For example, a poem on the earthly realm. I took the one less traveled. I took the path less traveled, and it has made all the difference. One person out of 1,000, one person out of 1,000,000 may understand the spiritual message that's being communicated through that hint, in this case, a poem. And that person will observe everyone around them, the millions running from here to there, trying to keep up with the Joneses, taking the path that everyone is trampling down. The greatest and largest truths of that place, as one is on their path to spiritual discovery, is embedded in the seemingly absurd on earth. All tricks must mix in truth. There is always an element of truth to be found and uncovered. This is part of the basic contract that was laid down eons ago. One begins to win the spiritual life test by identifying which is true and which is trick. Seeing the trick and realizing the truth turns one's attention back onto oneself. One then uses the creative energy of the realm to remake their spiritual essence into whatever they desire.
I can become spiritually what I desire to be, even in one lifetime?
The number of lifetimes, or time as it's measured in that place, is irrelevant. It's coming to the epiphany itself. It's coming to the conclusion and finally seeing the proper path and ignoring the trick and walking past the nature of its ruse and walking out of the maze because you no longer accept the rules. You no longer are willing to play by its terms. The problem for many spirits that incarnate is there in that place, most do not desire what is best for the spiritual side of their tug of war. They desire what the ego wants and that side of the pull. You will be tempted to desire what is best for the wardens. You will be tempted to desire what is best for its systems and its minions and what is best to propagate what it wants, not what you want, fooling you into thinking that what is best for them is what is best for you. Take a closer look through the vision that you are experiencing. What are the multitudes there desiring? How many are in pursuit of petty treasures?
I see it. Look at that. The pursuit of shiny things. Master, do you see it? This is ridiculous. And do you see what I see, Master? What is this group of minions over here? They're called politicians. There's too many of them. Tens of thousands across all these countries and continents, and they're all saying the same thing over and over about budget crises and things like that, but their own systems can print up an unlimited amount of money in a millisecond. People, Master, continue to fall for the same tricks over and over again?
As you will when you incarnate, at least initially. As unfathomable as that seems to be, as you will, at least initially. There are countless like yourself who said the same thing, notice the obvious from our perspective here, yet they are not standing before me. I hope you are not becoming dissuaded from incarnating, though. As I said, you don't need to succeed in the first attempt. There is no limit to what a spirit can achieve there if you come to that realization. Successful navigation of that place is like 1,000,000 light units of progress in your study here, being achieved in an instant. Those who go must simply find the correct path and use it to recreate self with intention and affirmations.
What is that, intentions and affirmations? It doesn't sound like moving mountains. It sounds too easy.
It is easy, but incredible simplicity is not incongruous with significant difficulty. You simply declare it so. You simply make it so. You simply declare it to yourself out loud, however you choose to, whatever ritual you choose to perform. I see the trick. I no longer fall for the trick. The trick does not work on me. It's that simple. Most people never say it because they will never see it.
So I can essentially escape from jail by proclaiming that I want to walk out of jail.
Yes. Did I stutter?
Sorry, Master. At 25 trillion years old, I assume you do know more than I do. I apologize.
Along the way, many guides will offer you their false wisdom. Most will present a complicated outline of what you must do in life to succeed. Whether they know it or not, all these entities work for the overlords if they present the solution as complicated. The true path is always simple. Don't take my word for it. Choose your inner knowing when you're incarnating. It will tell you that the truth is always simple. Reject the complicated. Use what I have told you to weigh your decision, but you will have no memory of anything said here the moment you incarnate.
Yes, it's a paradox and a strange test indeed, that Earth realm. I'm expected to succeed there while leaving behind all that I am now, or all that I've learned.
Yet you haven't left it behind. You will be made to believe you've left it behind. You will be made to believe it never existed, but you will be able to find it. The wisdom you now possess will be a quiet, almost hidden guide that is lost on most souls that incarnate to Earth. You will have no memory of it in your brain, the primary vehicle of navigating the realm, but it will always be with you, this ancient wisdom. The right path is always inside you. What will dominate your earthly incarnation is a central sense of being called ego. That's the problem. The ego positions itself as all-important and something that needs to be served. Ego executes its desires using the avatar organ I mentioned called the brain. A main tactic of the interdimensional demons and minions and wardens is to condition souls to live out their entire incarnation through the ego, the material sense of self in this tug of war that I've described. Those living through ego ignore those walking the true path and covet the impure. It's actually other organs of the avatar, like the heart and what is called gut, that are able to connect to higher self in our realm here. The ego and brain are a tether to the three-dimensional 666 system, a tether that needs to be broken and then controlled. On the material earth realm, the inner guides to wisdom you now possess are extremely hard to find amidst the noise of society. It's the noise of society that the ego pays most attention to. The Earth realm has learned how to feed ego so it grows disproportionately in dominance to all the other aspects of you, which, with ego in control, brings forth further distraction, and the loop continues.
If I have no memory of who I am when I go to Earth, all paths will look the same to me. The hell, perhaps, as tempting as the heaven or the good.
The obvious hell, or what you call hell, is easily avoided unless you actually go seeking out to join with the minions. Most parents are misguided, but they will teach a child as it's raised basic right and wrong. It's the hell that's disguised as the good that's hard to avoid, and that part is far more alluring than even the heaven. In that place you're still viewing, the hell is packaged as the good. What's more, the bad is praised in word and deed by the most influential entities on the realm that you'll be taught to covet. The bad is praised in word and deed. The lower dimensional wardens are particularly nasty, as I mentioned. We would never have entered into contract with them if we didn't emphasize a provision that they must never violate. The methods by which a real spirit can access its inner wisdom can never be harmed or interfered with by the lower dimensionals. A beacon will always be inside your human avatar to act as a spirit guide or an inner voice for those who can find it. It will always show you the right way to build up your spiritual essence. It'll always present the right path if you listen to it. However, be warned, the lower dimensionals are aware of this guide, which is far greater than themselves, and without breaking their contract, they will do all they can to provide misdirection and distraction called noise, so one never finds their higher self guide, or a guide that exists inside them that is connected to a place outside the earthly dome. This is the reason for endless noise, distraction, and the filling of schedules that allow some people only 6 hours of sleep a night. This is the reason for the endless coveting and keeping up with the Joneses. Mr. Jones and Me was a popular song there. The Free State of Jones was a popular movie. How ironic. The realm presents a famous story about a place that was completely free, tied to a name that's a metaphor for modern slavery. The legends and stories of Earth presents the repeating archetype of a hero finding a, quote, map to buried treasure. This is the Earth's most prominent story and teaches one to search for the elusive treasure out in society or outside themselves. As with everything else the wardens present, it's a lie. So obviously the real treasure is inside you. The stories often depict a lost soul with a map, searching the entire illusion for some treasure marked with an X. The wardens are a form of ancient evil that is genius in what they are contracted to do. With most, they've succeeded in getting people to believe the treasure is outside themselves somewhere, only to be found on the map, metaphorically represented by an X somewhere far away from themselves. The Holy Grail is you. I know you don't yet know what that means. You may take as long as you need to decide to incarnate or not. I can reveal no more.